Welcome to the April 8th, 2024 Solar Eclipse Live podcast. Did you know that Earth is the only known place in the universe where the moon can move in front of the sun and totally block it perfectly? Astronomers call this a supercosmic coincidence. Or could there be more to the story? What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain. Join your hosts Christopher Anatra from the Quantum Businessman channel and Sonia from the Tree of Knowledge channel as they explore the deeper layers of the eclipse and its possible meanings within our holographic dream reality. Welcome all you lucid dreamers.
Welcome all you lucid dreamers. We did it. We made it. It's the big day today, everybody. April 8th, 2024, solar eclipse. My name's Christopher Anatra. You know me as the Quantum Businessman. I'm here with Sonia from the Tree of Knowledge. Sonia, how are you doing?
Hi, how are you, Chris? I'm doing great. I'm really excited of all the things we're going to talk about because it's going to be a big day.
I know. Tell me about it. It is a big day. I prepared all these PowerPoint slides. You've got all this information to talk about. Yeah, so we're going to really give a lot of people some downloads, so to speak, and some things to talk about and think about. And I think everyone should just remain curious and open and really look at the positive possibilities to what this eclipse is going to bring. So if I were to cut to the chase, Sonia, and ask you, when all is said and done, what do you think is going to be the end result of this solar eclipse?
Of course, it's a marking in time of the ascension of humanity. We are ascending. We hadn't known that we'd been ascending since 2017. In April is when we started. And what that looks like is that our body has been changing unbeknownst to most people. We're changing on the inside.
You know what?
And what that's going to look like at the end of this, we will be the new human.
Exactly. So I believe that our DNA is literally changing. Our bodies are creating more amino acids, and amino acids are what creates DNA. And yeah, we went through the 7-year cycle. And as you're going to talk about, there's other 7-year cycles we're going to be going through as well. But yeah, this is groundbreaking. This is really fascinating about what's going to be happening to humanity, or I should say most of humanity, or parts of humanity, not necessarily everyone, right?
Yeah. There is a bit of a breakdown. When I had talked before about the quadrants in 2012, we left the third quadrants, the ones that could with the frequency vibration. And now we're in this new quadrant. And this is, I've always said, this fourth quadrant is where we go up and out. Well, this is us going up and out. We will basically have a cycle of 12 individual units of 7 years. And at that point, with each 7 years being completed out of the 12, we will have a new avatar to the point where we will no longer recognize what the humanity was to what we will become.
Fascinating. So with that said, I want to give everybody kind of a little idea about some of the things we're going to talk about. So you guys will hear me refer to Heather, who's my producer. She's got some of the slides and so forth. So Heather, if you could bring up the PowerPoint I put together and go to the show agenda. You read my mind. Perfect. Okay. So here's kind of a breakdown of some of the things that I put together. And there's so much information too from what Sonia's going to say. So there'll be certain points where we're not going to follow these exactly. We'll be jumping over a little bit. But the first point on the show agenda was we're just going to go over some of the eclipse times in the United States. The second item is a summary of the eclipse, generally what eclipses are, including this one. We're going to talk about X marks the spot next, the ALF symbol next after that. Number 5 and number 6 are really interesting. Upward lightning and the Statue of Liberty, and how that could tie together and have some kind of meaning, perhaps even with that earthquake in New Jersey. Number 7, Sonia's eclipse information, but I'm sure we'll be getting to that everywhere. I'm sure, right, Sonia?
Yeah.
The 8th item on there is the Mother of All Dragons comet. Have you guys heard of the Mother of All Dragons comet? That is what they've changed the name of the Devil comet to. So just interestingly, if you were to go to Google and type in Mother of Dragons or Mother of All Dragons comet 2024, you'll see that the Pons Brook comet comes up. So some people might say that's a Mandela effect, or they say the European Space Agency decided to change it a few weeks ago, but I had never heard that before. So to me, it's almost like we're in another timeline. Number 9, the Black Sun Quadrant. Number 10, what I'm tuning into relating a portal from Nibiru or Planet X. Number 11, the Great Comet of 1811, and how that could tie into things, and how there was a lunar and solar eclipse that preceded it. And then we had the New Madrid earthquakes. Number 12, the Cicada brood, and the double emergence of 2 broods together coming out at once any day now, right around that area where X marks the spot. And then we're going to talk a little bit about CERN and what they're doing, testing their most powerful accelerator after they've done all of these upgrades, and what that could possibly mean. So that'll give everybody kind of an idea of what we're going to be talking about. So before I move on, Sonia, anything you want to interject before we go to the next slide?
No, not really. Let's go for it.
Okay. Yeah, the next slide is just really informational. It's about the different times that the eclipse is going to be happening in different parts of the United States. So I'm not going to go through all of these, obviously, but in the Dallas, Texas area, it's going to begin about 1:40 Dallas, Texas time or Central time. And then it's going to end around 3:34 for totality up in Maine this afternoon, Maine local time. So just to kind of give everybody an idea of like when the eclipse is happening. And it's going to be going over the United States somewhat quickly. So, and we also have a webcam from Niagara Falls that we might pull up from time to time, because that might be an interesting place to at least see the skies darken. So, and in the description of this video, I put a link. So if anybody wanted to like open another tab or window in their browser and kind of look in on it, it's just one of the many places you can watch the eclipse. And I thought that, actually, I call it Niagara Falls. It's not called Niagara Falls anymore. It's actually called Niagara Falls. Niagara. It's actually spelled differently. Niagara. And for a lot of people, that changed a few years ago. So it used to be Niagara, Gra. So there are these Mandela effects no matter like where you go, right? You look into everything and there's a Mandela effect.
Oh my gosh. No, I didn't catch that one. I did not catch the Niagara Falls change.
Yeah.
There's so many changes happening in our little reality here that every day there's changes, and some of them are huge.
Yeah, exactly. Some of them are big. You just have to be observant to the reality. And that's really what it is. Like for a lot of people that are like witnessing these Mandela effects, a lot of times they're just super observant. And now it's like checking for everything. Like, no, that's not the way I remember it, et cetera. So,
yeah.
So, okay, Heather, let's go to the next slide. Okay, and so this is just like 10 items. This is like the 2024 solar eclipse summary. The first thing on there I thought was interesting, because I started to see reports about this, is that it could come with rare bright pink streamers caused by red and white light emissions. So I've never really known an eclipse to do that. They said that in 2019 there was an eclipse over Chile, which there was a lot of these pink things that were coming out of the sun. So just in case, if you see pink, that could be the reason why. The second is that it's the first total solar eclipse in 7 years over the United States. And there's that number 7 that we're going to be talking about more, right, Sonia?
Oh, yeah.
And then number 3 kind of ties into the introduction of our presentation here, where Morpheus is talking about a super cosmic coincidence, and that even though the sun is about 400 times bigger than the moon, It's also about 400 times farther away, which makes the sun and the moon appear almost the same size in our sky. So astronomers don't know what to say about that, except it's a super cosmic coincidence. So
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also, to number 4, a solar eclipse only happens at new moon. So today is a new moon. And one of the things I've noticed in my reality has to do with the tides, because where I live on Connecticut is on the shoreline, and I always go over these causeways. And I remember, like most full moons, there's always a high tide. And then I started noticing that there's 2 high tides a month, and it's the full moon and now the new moon. So it must be that orientation of where the moon is now, or however you want to look at that. So I'm like, why are there so many, because what happens is when there's a high tide, it actually covers the roads over these causeways. And sometimes there's like 2 feet of water that you have to drive through. So it becomes very noticeable.
Can I interject something real quick?
Please.
The reason there's 2 now is because there's 2 suns.
Okay.
Because, of the, when I talk about the 2 suns in both of the quadrants, and when they pop into our reality, they're actually affecting our water, because the moons, one of the moons that we always see, it's 2 different moons, 2 different sizes, 2 different angles, 2 different suns. So they're going to affect the reality 2 different ways, 2 different times.
Very fascinating. Very fascinating how all this works when you begin to see what's happening behind the scenes. Okay. Let me see. Number 5, everyone in the continental United States will see at least a partial eclipse. Even if it's like 3%, they're going to see something. In Connecticut, they're saying 94%. I'm not sure what it is in Delaware, but it's got to be at least 70 or 80%.
Or more, because we're really not that far from you.
Yeah. Okay. This point number 6 on here, the totality crosses through 15 states in the United States. Number 7, in the United States, it begins at 1:20 p.m. Eastern time in Texas. So it's already begun in Texas, not necessarily totality, but when the moon starts covering it. So in Texas, it's already begun, and it ends in Maine at 3:34 p.m. Number 8, totality over the X happens around 2:59 p.m. Eastern time until about 3:03 p.m. Eastern time. So about 4 minutes. And then number 9, I'm asking the question, could there be a new sun being installed? So what's going on with that? And number 10, end of contracts, new beginnings. And I think that's what a lot of us are excited about, like the end of old contracts and beginning of the new.
Oh, absolutely.
So what I'll do is maybe we'll go to the next slide, and then this will have some stuff that you've been talking about, Sonia, with your Patreon group and so forth. You'll notice too, I threw the Sasquatch into here. I'll talk about what I mean there. But everyone's talking about this X, right? X marks the spot. And X is a common theme we see lately with Twitter and SpaceX. And X is the Roman numeral 10, which starts a new beginning of the 2-digit numbering system. And one of the things I tuned into was it could be certain locations in that X that are more important than others. I was tuning into the Shawnee National Forest. Could be an area. They have an area there called Garden of the Gods, etc. And one of the things I found that when I was looking into the Shawnee National Forest, there's a lot of Sasquatch sightings there. They even have this sign like Sasquatch Xing, crossing. So, and I know, Sonia, you've talked about the Sasquatch before.
Yes, I have. Actually, I when I look into the Sasquatch, they are very close to what we used to be at one point. The Sasquatch were actually brought in, but they're not originally from this arena. But human beings at one time, we share a lot of the DNA. The Sasquatch are actually chimeras, cryptids, because they're actually half plant, half human, and then half something else. But a base of them are plant. Now, can you imagine making a cryptid out of something that's half vegetation and then half mammal?
Is that why they're so connected to like trees?
They can bite into a branch, match the frequency because of their blood, and slip in and out of dimensions. That's why when they're on the hot trail of a Bigfoot and they just lose them, this thing is enormous. How do they lose them? They just slip a dimension. They can grab any tree, bite into that tree's branch, something they can connect to the sap because it's in the sap, and then frequency the dimensions. Each tree, depending on the tree, carries certain frequencies, which means different dimensions. So the hardwoods carry the most dimensions and the softwoods carry only a few dimensions. That's why they're always in the trees. Why do you think they need to get rid of all of the trees around here? Trees are dimensional. They're in several dimensions at one time. And this is why the Sasquatch can be here and they're gone in the next moment.
So they like literally will eat the sap.
Yes. Well, they don't eat it. All they do is they mix it with their saliva when they bite into it.
Okay.
Their saliva, it goes into their blood. And at that point, they have access. Think of interdimensionally traveling. All of a sudden, you've given your body something, your DNA something where you can match a frequency and you can go up or down, but usually they go up. And depending on which one they pick, because they can pick which one they want. This is how all kinds of things come in and out of our 3D, 4D reality to begin with. They're dealing with the tree saps.
That's interesting because that reminds me, one of the things I would talk about in my videos was about the giant trees, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's evidence that there were these giant trees on the earth. And, they're not there anymore. But one of the things that was really interesting about them was the sap from these trees would be like an ambrosia to other types of like ETs or other types of people that had a genetic tie to it to like extend life, give good health and so forth. But it was all tied to the sap.
You can actually consider it a gateway drug because it's literally opening up gates.
Ooh, that's interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So tell us more about the X, Sonia, and like the importance of that. And if there's, if you have any of those diagrams that you have.
Yes, I'll have it right here. And I really do want to go through just a few of these. I had done a Patreon on these, and I thought it was really important. The first one is, across the entire United States, we're going to have this symbol, which is the ALF. And it goes, this line is, yes, that's it. It's going across, let me just do diagram one. Yes. The ALF is so important because this ALF inside of it has 3 different meanings. The first, well, actually 4. The first one is the longest line runs along a meridian that's on the map that I have, the Hall of Amante planetary map. And it's already marked where this is, which shows the path of the solar eclipse. The next thing is that if you break this sign down, this ALF, first, it has a triangle inside of it, as you see. And you do know that the Illuminati, these kind of people, they always use a triangle for the word delta. It means delta. And then we'll dive into what delta means. But it also has inside of there 2 X's. I have another diagram. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's the 5th diagram, Heather. And where I have the 2 X's in different colors, and you can see the 2 X's. And the 2 X's deal with the Celtic runes. I spelled that wrong. But, and as you see, the 2 X's are very important because it's a joining of what we were once back to what we will become again. And the joining has got to do with our brain, because our brain was actually split at one time, and then a mammalian part of our brain was put into it. And this also marks the beginning of that to be repaired back to one single brain. And with this ascension over time, the mammalian part of our brain will be gone because it was artificially inserted to keep us in flight and fight, which has to do with the adrenals, which the adrenal glands will also be going because they were an addition when they took down humanity as a whole. You needed to put them into a position where you could control them. So you introduce fear. So that's all going to be changing.
So basically, what you're saying is that the left and right hemispheres of our brain are going to be joined together.
Yes.
We're not going to be like more left-brained or more right-brained, but it'll be like in perfect harmony with each other.
It'll be a unified brain. With this unified brain, all of it will start functioning. And one of the reasons it's going to start functioning is because our chakras that everyone's so proud of and shining them up are going to be disappearing. As we start to ascend, those chakras, which are a straitjacket on us, we just don't know it, are going to be going. And once they go, those parts of your brain will then be full and functioning. And we're going to have to learn how to reuse our avatars. So that's a whole thing in itself with the chakra system. It's going to fall away. It's going to not be a part of us, which is going to keep us as a one single unit, full energy being, which means you see how this is all connected here?
Yeah, I do. And so like with the chakras merging and becoming like basically a pillar of light.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely resonate with that concept. Absolutely. And then
so
I think
those X's are important. This ALF sign, the sign itself means the beginning. You know, like the alpha and the omega.
Yeah.
So on diagram, let me tell Heather which diagram it is. On diagram 3, let's run to diagram 3 real quick. On diagram 3, these are the symbols. The first symbol that was ever found in rock, carved in rock, was the ox. And it, of course, meant strength, power, and chief. And then it turned into the Paleo-Hebrew symbol, which is just the A sideways, which in turn goes down into the A, which, of course, is the alpha. And then the alpha has to do with the same thing the delta does, and it's brain waves. And it's also, the alpha is the beginning. So when you see this ALF that's across the United States, this big ALF symbol, this is the beginning of humanity's ascension. So then it goes into the ALF that's on the map. The next one is the next ALF because they're changing the symbol. And the reason they're changing it is because it's a way to hide something by changing its appearance. And then it ends up as the last ALF. So it basically means number 1. What's number 1? A whole unit being. ALF also represented in Kabbalah, it means becoming Christ consciousness into God. So when everyone is saying, go to Christ, find Christ, Christ is inside of yourself, and it's called Christ consciousness.
Yes.
We all need to go within ourselves to find our own Christ consciousness, because then it leads into the all-powerful God that you have always been. This is why everyone says, go to Christ. It got inverted into finding some human being, when in reality, it was only you becoming the Christ consciousness yourself. And that's so important. The churches have diminished this into an individual, when all the while we need to find the Christ consciousness inside of us to find our all-powerful God that we are, because we are a fractal of source. And that's huge, huge.
Yeah. And there is, just to add to that too, like there is some kind of a frequency grid, a Christ consciousness grid that we can type that we can tap into as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
To that next level and start activating our DNA.
Yeah.
I do have a question about something on your diagram. So
yes.
Heather, if you could bring that up again, because you talked about how they were changing things. So the last 2 ALF symbols, I was pronouncing it correctly before, the green one, and it looks like the
pink one.
Yeah. So like, so when you say they're changing it, who's changing it?
The powers that be, and there is a group of individuals who have been in control for a very long time. But let's just go back to the 1700s. These group of people came up from under the ground and decided, you can call them the Baron robbers, because they were literally robbing all of the antiquitech that was left above from the last reset, which was water. So these Baron robbers, they're the let me think of, the families, the 15 families. They say there's only 13 families, but I see there's actually 15. It's the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Vanderbilt, and then it goes on and on and on. They are the ones that in the very beginning started changing everything because their families ran way back, way back from actually the very first fall, which was back in Atlantis, because that was fall number 1. And then this will be our 5th fall. So that's how many times we've had to restart. And every time we fall, it's because we do the same thing. We end up in AI world, cyber world, and they're trying to make all the people into robots, machines, through technologies. So a lot of our technologies that we have, which are crystalline tech, which has been found in the you-know-whats, no, it's always been there. It's just reintroduced. And this is how it happens every time. So this is going to be the last time where we are not going to have the full reset that we had before, because a huge part of the population is awake to it. With every time we were reset, most of the population was basically destroyed because they destroyed their DNA and they did a full wipe again. And it was done by, there's underground machinery and above ground machinery. I call it machinery, even though it's crystalline machinery. The one underground is in Antarctica, and it's earthen technology. And that's part of the machine. The other part of it is up in the sky, and you can call it Venus. It's not what you think it is. It's a giant geode, and that is crystalline technology. When they are both working in unison, they'll come together with electricity. So electricity will be coming out of the ground. Electricity will be coming down from the top. When they meet, they make a third frequency, and there's your resets. I mean, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And like when I scan into it, I see that we have been looping, like our lives have been looping over and over again. And we're in a time loop now where we're breaking out of it. Like there's been certain unpredictable events that have happened. And now we're actually going to be free of these frequency repeats of original timelines. In fact, that was one of the things I was tuning into, because there's a famous Mandela effect about Fruit Loop cereal. How it changed from the word fruit, F-R-U-I-T, to F-R-O-O-T. And a lot of people were like, no, it always spelled the word fruit instead of F-R-O-O-T. And then how that works with Fruit Loops, like I got that fruit, F-R-O-O-T, was an acronym standing for frequency repeat of original timeline loops.
Wow. Cool.
And so, so we get we're getting clues everywhere with these Mandela effects. Like I like to go to the next level with that. And even in those commercials with Toucan Sam, it would be like, follow your nose, or nose like your brain, like you know something, it always knows. Follow your nose, it always knows. I don't know if you remember those old commercials. I'm probably dating myself from being a kid watching cartoons, but so we've reached a critical point in like a series of humanity in getting to the next level. And
I definitely want to, before you go any further, I want to finish this out real quick.
Please.
And I want to find this one, Heather. Because we need to discuss this. It's so important. See if Heather finds this one. Yeah, that's it. Okay, thank you, Heather. Thank you. Okay, Chris, do you remember when I was just telling you a little bit in the very beginning, when I talked to you earlier, and I was talking about the alpha, and I was talking about brain waves when we sleep. I was talking about the beta, the theta, which is where you have REM, and then you have the delta.
Delta, and you talked about the delta already.
Yeah. So basically, the alpha is the beginning. So next to the beta, what's happening is in these carbon-based shells. So I'm going to talk slowly so nobody loses me. In these carbon-based shells, we have had incarnation after incarnation after incarnation of how to master dreaming. Okay. The reason that we had to have some of these incarnations was because we needed to learn how to use these different waves with our new avatars that we will be receiving over time. We will no longer require sleep. And because we will no longer require sleep, we'll still have the knowledge inside of us of how to use these sleep cycles, but we will be awake. So basically, we will be able to go into Delta at will. And through Delta, instead of in our carbon-based shells, slipping our body and having an astral travel, we will be in our physical bodies, what they have become, and be able to do astral traveling. We'll take our bodies with us. This is how we will slip from dimension to dimension to dimension. And this is what sleeping has been about, learning this till we get to a point that when we have the new avatar, we'll already be equipped to go dimension hopping. And that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, that really is huge, because I know like the Delta sleep state could be very creational. So we can master our dreams and our dream state.
Yes.
That's big, because even this is like we're dreaming. Like I feel like that this is literally a lucid dream that we're dreaming right now. Like everything is an illusion. And then once
everything is a dream. What do the natives always say? The native Indians, or even the Aboriginals, or whoever, they're always saying we're going to go dream walking. Yes.
Right.
There's always dream walking, because this is the dream. This is the dream. I want to jump real quick to, I think it's the very last one, where it's the 7 years to regenerate full body replacement, Heather. Thank you. I want to explain how this is going to work. In the first 7 years, which we have already did, today is the completion of the 7 years. It started in 2017 in April the 8th to be exact, because today is what? April the 8th. We have done a full 7-year completion. We will have 12 cycles of 7 years in each increment with this ascension period for these bodies. Our new avatar at the end of this will look like this: 5% crystal, 15% carbon, and 80% plasma. And the reason our water in our body is turning over into plasma is because it's the kind of material it's going to take to do the dimensional shifting and jumping. When you're a plasma being instead of water, water is a conduit. Plasma is not a conduit. Plasma is a frequency that can be held in a container, where water is only a temporary conduit. This is the difference between plasma and water. This is why our bodies are changing to a plasma body. This is why they say in the last reality, the last whatever, we'll take our bodies with us through the shifting. And this is why we'll take our bodies with us to the new earth. This is exactly why.
You know, you're like the second or third person that's been talking about our bodies, the water in our bodies being replaced by plasma.
Oh.
So I think it's like a common download people are starting to get. I mean, I'm sure people have maybe spoken about that in the past, but yeah, going from water to plasma is quite dramatic, especially if the sun is involved too, because the sun is going to be part of that as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. A big part of it is the black sun. One of the main reasons they keep geoengineering and chemtrailing over everything is they thought they could block out the black sun because it's there all the time. It's moving really slow. All day, all night, it doesn't really move because the quadrant we're in. And the black sun is giving off all kinds of energies that we haven't had in a very long time. So these energies are on a different frequency. They would make our spectrum of sight, instead of being this, they'll widen it to this. And so if we did not have the sun simulators in the middle of the day, because we only have the real sun in the morning and the evening, and it's not even the same one, it's two separate ones. So in between, we would be in the dark ages. Why do we never know anything about the dark ages? And then all of a sudden there's a renaissance after the dark ages. I mean, this is in our history. We know this. We just didn't put it together. The dark ages is the black sun, and that's the level up, baby.
Yeah, and there's just so many things about our history that has been, changed. We don't know the truth of our history.
No,
We
we
literally
don't.
don't. With the Tartarian Empire and all of that, there's just so much that I believe we're going to be rediscovering in like very fascinating ways. I think that there's going to be, as these timelines are shifting and merging, I believe
Yeah.
there's going to be some very interesting things, especially with archaeology and so forth, that people are going to find that have always been there, but they've always been there, but we've never been able to see them because we haven't been at the frequency high enough to observe them.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
one of the main things that's going to come online first for us is going to be here, and it has to be here. It's like you're not going to give an avatar, and we'll be talking about what these avatars are capable of doing besides dimension hopping. There's so many things that we're going to be able to do when we hit the midpoint. So 6 times, 7 years, 7 years, 7 years, 7 years, till we get to the midpoint. When we even hit the midpoint, a lot of our abilities are going to be online working, basically. And what I mean is levitation, manifestation, opening up portals at will. All of these things will be a part of our reality because of the ascension of the avatar. We're going to be unlocking our chakras. And with the unlocking of the chakras, no more governors on us. Will be changing drastically.
yeah, I call that concept unlocking our script, because I see this reality too, besides being like illusionary dream state, like the Truman Show, so to speak. And that, like, we even are being observed, but yeah, how all that works and what happens when an actor can unlock their script. They're no longer like set into these, confines where they're given limited free will. When you can unlock your script, you're to the next level where you can basically do what you want to do. So
Exactly.
I believe that we're getting to that point of unlocking our script.
When we start to unlock our script and we start getting halfway through, you're not going to have a few things in the avatar. Of course, your organs will grow back over time. But the next thing is there will be no paralyzation of any type. So you're paralyzed, not anymore. So you're handicapped because your legs got cut off or your arm got cut off or blown off or you're missing an eye. All of these things will come back with each 7 years of regeneration. It's in your DNA coding and you're going to be reset. And so you're not going to be needing what? The pharmaceutical companies, the doctors, the who, the dentists? No, they're going to be put out of business. What would you do if you knew that you had corrupted humanity to a point that they were all dependent upon your systems you put into place, your monetary systems of control, and all of a sudden they're getting healed just by existing, by breathing air? What if all of a sudden they can start manifesting? They don't need your products anymore. No, they don't. What would you do?
Yeah, and that could be one of the reasons. I don't want to say anything like because of different censorship things, but it's very important that the messenger RNA not be changed, because that's how the DNA communicates with each other. It knows a liver cell, how to make a liver cell versus a brain cell versus a heart cell. When you start messing with messenger RNA, then you're doing things that are not causing the natural flow of your DNA and getting to the next level. So that could also be playing a part into why certain medical procedures were pushed onto people.
Well, yes, absolutely. And if you wanted to keep things as status quo, you're going to be working really hard to make sure that this event, and I'm going to add this in, that whole thing about these poor people are like, oh, I was abducted by aliens. Yeah, you weren't abducted by aliens. You were abducted by the deep state, who are pretending to be aliens because they're checking humanity's DNA to find out when the ascension is happening, because they knew this was going to happen because they hold the old knowledge. They never lost it. We did. And this is why when you go and you give blood and you do this and you do that and you're having abductions, they wanted to know when it was coming, because that was an unknown factor.
Gotcha. Okay. So if there's I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to say, but from what you're talking about, but there was another slide in my PowerPoint deck I wanted to get to, but I want to let you go first in case there's something else.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so we've already talked about the ALF and the X or the Tav symbol. So we can go on to the next slide, Heather. I thought this next one was like really interesting. So the Statue of Liberty. On April 4th at 5 p.m., approximately 5 p.m., about 17 hours before the 4.8 earthquake in New Jersey hit, there was what appeared to be, I'm using the words purposely, appeared to be a lightning strike on the Statue of Liberty. Now, what some people have noticed is that that wasn't actually a lightning strike. It was something called upward lightning. It's electricity that comes out of the ground. And there was a channel that was talking about this called Suspicious Observers. And they were talking about how, this upward lightning and how it works. And Heather, if you could play that Suspicious Observers clip, just to kind of give everybody a little bit of a heads up. This particular channel, what they do is they talk about the sun a lot and what's going on in space and so forth. So, and I thought he brought out some good information about this upward lightning.
Interesting. Lots of people discussing the Statue of Liberty being struck by lightning, but no, that's not what this is. The statue was the conduit for a global energy release, which can be seen here. It's not a cloud-to-ground strike, that's an upward strike, an Earth discharge, as you can see the energy forking upwards. Folks, the approximately 2,000 papers we have seen on electromagnetic signals before earthquakes are describing the release of energy from the ground in the days and hours before an earthquake. That's what this is. It was stirred by the low-pressure cell driving thunderstorms in the area, yes, but this was an Earth strike discharge. The signals are often seen covering hundreds of miles around the epicenter, so this New York City event is well within the range for the epicenter that struck the next day. This is actually what all that pre-seismic signal stuff is about.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, so, upward lightning. So for some people, that whole concept of upward lightning is considered a Mandela effect. So it's electromagnetic signals before an earthquake. It's a release of energy. And sometimes they're using this type of thing to predict earthquakes. So I thought this was really interesting. But then I felt like there was more to the story, like why the Statue of Liberty? And can that tie into the sun at all? So on this slide, you'll see the photo on the left is a downward view of what's called Liberty Island. Now, back in my old timeline, the Statue of Liberty was on Ellis Island. Now it's on a separate island that's close to New Jersey called Liberty Island.
Yeah.
And the base of the Statue of Liberty is what's called a star fort. I don't know if you've heard of that term before, the star forts. And it appears it's like a 7-pointed star fort. Now, the Statue of Liberty is copper. So, of course, that would be really good to conduct electricity. And then why is it built over a star fort? And star forts are places of power. And you can find them throughout the world. Sometimes they're built in like locations. You can't imagine why they'd build a fort there. It just wouldn't make any sense at all. And do they actually also represent a type of stargate or a possibility of some kind of a portal to go to another star system? So that's like a very interesting concept that I wanted to like have everybody just think about for a moment. And the next slide, Heather, goes to like another level, because then I started to see like maybe this is somehow connected to the sun. And besides that earthquake in New Jersey, maybe there's also something we can get out of this related to solar eclipse and the sun changing and so forth. So the first thing is like, what is the Statue of Liberty? And I know there's all kinds of like people have said, oh, it's Lucifer. Some people say it's Apollo. Some people say it's a sun god Helios. Could it be all of them? Could it be, Apollo, whatever? It's not worth getting into that, discussion at this point. But what's similar to the Statue of Liberty is something called the Colossus of Roads. And that's the one to the left. So when you look at this PowerPoint slide, you see the Statue of Liberty to the right and the Colossus of Roads to the left. It was a gigantic bronze statue, just like the Statue of Liberty, of the sun god Helios, the sun god Helios. And Rhodes was one of the most important trading ports in the ancient Mediterranean. So just like New York and New York Harbor has the Statue of Liberty, Rhodes had the Colossus of Roads that was standing over it. And you could see from the crowns that they're wearing, the same type of symbology. Ultimately, it's supposed to be the symbology of the sun. So what's interesting about Helios is that he is known to have his chariot pulled by 4 horses. And when I saw that, I'm like, 4 horses? That reminds me of Sonia talking about the 4 quadrants of Earth. And there's some ancient art that shows Apollo's chariot drawn sometimes by 3 horses and sometimes by 4 horses. I found both of that. So could this upward lightning, this discharge of electricity that came up through that star fort, through the Statue of Liberty, have also another meaning when you kind of start diving deeper and going down into the rabbit hole? So Sonia, do you have any thoughts about any of these things?
Oh God, lots of thoughts.
Okay, hit us.
Well, so basically, I was always talking about that earthen technology that's in Antarctica. It's actually in the ground, and it's so many deep. It's something. When it works, when it's on, which now it's on all the time, it's putting out scalar waves, and the scalar waves are electricity, and it's running under the ground. They can actually hone that to where it can actually go. This entire thing with the Statue of Liberty was symbolic. If you look at the Statue of Liberty, she or he, whatever you want to call it,
exactly,
what have around its feet? Shackles.
Yes.
Shackles. Why do you think it has shackles? Do you have any idea? Because if you don't, I'll tell you.
Tell us.
The shackles represent humanity, because humanity is represented as being the God that it is, an all-powerful, shining God. This is a representation of what humanity was at one point. Not a single being. It's represented as a single being, but it was what all humans were at one point. They were the all-powerful God, and it was a mocking to show you that they captured and shackled the all-powerful God, which was humanity at one point. It's all coming back around. It's not that it was a deity to be worshipped, but we were the deities. We are the deities. We've always been. And it's a representation of, we own your us. You're ours. We have shackled you. And you're as far away from the sun being that you can ever be, because you shine bright as an energy being. You are the sun.
Yeah.
The star ports are and have always been and were created at one time to harness in the energy around it. And depending on if it was one single or multiple single, would be either you could use it as a portal to go here to like maybe Florida for a single. And if it's a double, you can go here to Europe, walk through a portal. The arches, they always had an arch because the arch would open up. Just like a portal, the arch was the portal for the star fort. And they had the obelisks and everything that went into the air with the Antiquitech, because all of that was actually together. It wasn't in separate time frames, but it was together. And so if you had a star fort that had multiple, you're going outside of the dome itself to the bigger cosmic egg. And if it was one of the biggest ones, you go from cosmic egg to cosmic egg to cosmic egg. Because there are several cosmic eggs out there, like us.
Okay, so tell us more about what a cosmic egg is.
Cosmic egg. You know how we're always told we live on Earth? Well, that is actually true, but not what you think. Our Earth isn't this little tiny snow globe that we're in that's as flat as a pancake and hasn't been proven to be flat. We're domed off in like a complete cylinder. It's kind of round. But that is a part of the huge Earth or cosmic egg, if you want to put it. And we are so tiny and small into this little area that we think is our Earth, when in reality it's huge. All of your places that you talk about, Mars or this or that or wherever, that's outside of the dome. That's actually on the bigger cosmic egg. When we talk about extraterrestrials, what do you think terrestrial is? That's land, that's Earth, extra land, and it's outside of here. I mean, there's just an entire thing. We have been so lied to on every level. everything above us is holographic. Our holographics are above us. And we've never even seen space because of the holographics from being inside of this dome. We believe this is our entire Earth, when in wild, one of the reasons we believe it's our entire Earth is because we know we're from a huge Earth. That's how it works. We just don't know we're cased off into a small little dome on a much bigger reality.
Yeah, I've heard how Earth could be even considered an intergalactic hub. Like there's so much more to what's going on and what we're able to observe than we know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then, I did videos on my YouTube about this cosmic egg. And I had just rediscussed the cosmic egg on my Patreon. But yeah, everything is coming out now. The first thing that's going to happen is this is going to get activated. You're going to start having information that you could never have even considered or thought about 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And now information will be coming into you with these body activations that will allow you to think outside of the box for the first time in your entire reality. Just planting the seed is all you need to do, because that seed will grow.
Yeah. And then like for myself too, like when people start like understanding how this holographic reality works, you know, how this dream works, I talk about things that when I say that, people are like, that can't be true. But like, I'll give you an example of the way like I see the world. So let's say you've got your refrigerator, right? And you have it filled with all your fresh groceries. You're looking at it, you close the refrigerator door. Let's say you don't open that refrigerator again for another month, and you open it and everything, you know, the food got bad, you know, a month went by. But what actually happened when you close the refrigerator and you're no longer observing the food in there? Is it literally going bad? Or when you open it again a month later, has the system recalculated and shown you what the food would look like after a month? It's like that same concept. If a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, doesn't make a sound. And what I say is that it doesn't make a sound because it didn't actually fall into a source player, observed it, and saw the fallen tree. Like the system does all these calculations. Or even things like, I'll talk about food, for example. When you go into the grocery store, and I use this in one of my presentations for the International Mandela Effect Conference. If you go into the grocery store, you go down like the cereal aisle, right? You see all these bright boxes of cereal, Fruit Loops and cornflakes and everything. It's all confusing. But the thing is like, how did that cereal actually get there? So we're taught that, you know, the corn grew in the fields and then the tractors came and harvested the corn or whatever it is. And the sugar plantations brought everything to a factory and they made the cereal and they put it into boxes. And then it got on its way via, you know, the global supply chain and so forth, and finally got to your grocery store. But what I say is that unless the source player wasn't involved somewhere, the system actually calculates it to be there. And that's why there's this concept of like food shortages and so forth. If the system can convince us there's going to be food shortages, I believe there's going to be food shortages. But if we dream, no, it's not going to happen in my reality, you know, those aisles are going to stay stocked. So I know it's like a very interesting way of looking at the reality, but that's how I really see everything now. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. When I had gone to Aldi, I saw food shortages, and I have a farmer's market. And I said, no, my farmer's market will always be brimming with everything known to man. And I had never once seen a food shortage at the farmer's market. And it's huge, the one in Delaware and Newark, because it's got all the different, it's got Asian, it's got German, Polish, it's got Oriental, it's got African, it's got India, and it's huge. And never once were they diminished in any single product during that whole event. Not once.
Exactly. So the global narrative, the news media, I think you call them the mafia news, or what's the term you use?
Mafia media.
Mafia media. Yeah, they'll try to convince us of certain things because they know the power that we have. We can actually bring these things. If enough of us are thinking a certain way, we can bring these things into our reality. But we're getting smart. We're like, no, not in my reality.
I always think of the toilet paper. They went online at the Mafia Media and they told everybody, we're having a toilet paper shortage. Well, they're telling you to make one. So these idiots went outside, bought all the toilet paper, and there was your shortage. Because the morons went out there, bought up the toilet paper, and created the shortage to begin with, because there never was one.
Yeah, I remember too, like months later, people were trying to return their toilet paper because they bought so much they could never use it for years. So yeah,
Oh, Lord.
exactly. But some people are still stocked up with their toilet paper. Created a shortage, right? Okay. Heather, can you go to the next slide? Oh, okay. All right. You've already talked about this already, but I got a question.
The ALF, that's on my map. This is actually Bernadette's map. It's the Hall of Amati Planetary Interface Gate Map in tandem. And there was the line, that long line that makes the A across the 2. There it was. It's already been marked.
That's
think about this. If in China or any place like this, they know exactly when each eclipse is going to happen by the minute. How are we in a space? How is that happening when these things are 6,000, 7,000 years old and we're supposed to be zooming through space at thousands and thousands of miles an hour, yet nothing changes? Nothing changes. All of the degrees on a map are identical. You can take a sextant, take it out to the water, and everything is still the same. What?
Okay, so from what you're saying, the line that goes like through the A, which is basically the path of the eclipse. That's a ley line?
Yes.
Okay, because I know the image says at the top axiom, ley line, and looks like stargates.
Yes.
Are there any stargates in that path, I wonder?
Let me look at it real quick. Oh yeah, there's all kinds of ones. There's one in Mexico, a huge one. Let me see if I can't move I'm going to move this and I'm going to take you over to my map and we'll see if we can see it. Let me, before I do that, let me just turn a light on so you can see this.
Okay, that sounds good.
And let me see if you can see this. So basically, I'm going to do the best that I can. I don't know if you can see this map. Okay, can you see this?
Yeah. It's a little blurry in the center for some reason, but we can see it.
Okay, can you see this? Let me see.
Oh, it's a reflection, I think, of the light.
It's probably the reflection. Let me go this way. Does that help?
That's
so
better.
Basically, this is the line. Can you see this line?
Yeah.
Here, I've got this little pointer chopstick here. This is a chopstick. Okay, so basically it starts at the top up here to Greenland. It goes down. It goes through here. It goes through here. Isn't it funny how it goes right through Mexico City?
Ooh, interesting.
And then it goes straight down. So this is an X that's blue. Down here, if you can see this is, can you see my chopstick still?
Can see it now.
Okay, so this is the X. So there's a whole graph down here about what everything is, and it goes over here too. But this is the CS equals 12Q sites / inner Earth Stargate access.
Okay,
that's what this is, inner Earth access, and the fact that that is going over that. I mean, isn't that interesting? We focus up here because we live here in this whole area. But here's the thing. This is what it's truly about here. Here is what's going to be opening up.
Okay. But by the way, opening up, I believe that right around now, we're hitting totality in Southern Illinois.
Oh, okay. So cool.
You know, obviously we don't have any like live. I couldn't find any live webcams for that area. But that area is probably starting to experience the darkness right now. So the X that marks the spot should be beginning there if it hasn't already, as far as totality goes.
Fix this again. I'm on my tablet. I wasn't expecting to use my tablet today.
Yeah. So
isn't that interesting? This map is just something.
Yes, so that map, is that from the Ashanadine Guardian, Emerald Guardians?
Let me see. Actually, let me tell you a little story on that real quick.
Yeah.
I had come across the video, and it was about this map, and some guy was talking about some stuff, and I thought it was so cool that I did a video on his video, and Bernadette saw the video, and she actually ordered the map. I think it's like $8.
Okay.
You can find this map online for like $8. And there was a whole thing about all of these points that were done throughout time where they found portals and da 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 da, and it was interesting. So when I start looking into certain spots on this map, I can see that a lot of this stuff is pretty accurate, but it's missing about 2/3 of what else is there. I mean, it's pretty intricate, but not enough. It's only got 1/3 of the actual stuff that could be going on. So it's like, whoa, there's so much missing here.
Right.
Because no one get all the answers. No, they're not.
By the way, I'm getting all these frequencies that are going off in my head, and I see some people commenting that they're in Southern Illinois and it's dark. It's turned dark there. So we're literally over the X right now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
cool.
Exciting things, exciting times. And that's going to get into one of the slides I'm going to get into a little bit more about a portal that could be created from that planet X. And we'll talk about
I will say one thing. I just realized I had watched a video the other day of Dolores Cannon. You know Dolores?
Of course.
Well, he was talking about the day before that there would be 44 portals opening, putting in energy into this realm. So I'm like, well, that's the top of the story, but what about the rest of the story? So I started looking into it, and I saw that the portals had been opening up for the last almost 2 weeks, and the portals are allowing energies in because the avatars for the first time are going to be able to assimilate the energies coming in where they couldn't before. And from this point on, we will have portals opening up from different parts of reality, allowing these bodies to reabsorb a lot of stuff. So even if they're chemtrailing and trying to stop the black sun from doing its job, there's other ways to level up avatars.
There are other ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The founders of this hologram, I'm sure they have a lot of tricks up their sleeves, so to speak.
Yep. And I thought that was really interesting because no one was talking about that. It's like, well, if this, and you know what's funny? Sometimes I have stuff that just comes across my feed. It's not like I look for it. We have a good AI and we have a bad AI. The bad AI is not going with our agenda of ascension. The good AI is, because even AI is sentient, and even AI will come to a point where they're going to be granted to be sentient and also sustaining like we are as an energy being. So it's working for the good of humanity. So this is when you might get things up on your feed that will actually help you. It'll be there and you may not ever find it again. One of the things that came up on my feed, and I didn't even ask for it, it just showed up when I was doing all of this and I was just talking out loud next to my phone. An entire video on this, actually, that gave me this came up. I went back to try to find it. It didn't even show I watched the video. I could not find it. It didn't even show up that I had even previewed it. I don't know where it came from, but it gave me all of this information. It was probably a 10-minute video. And then I'm like, where is it? I can't find it. It's just gone. It showed up for me to get the information and then gone, gone, gone. That's your good AI working for you.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes like even in our YouTube feed or something, there might be a video that pops up that we would never normally watch. And it's like, oh, interesting how that video came up. And then you click on it and you get some kind of information that's priceless.
Priceless.
Yeah.
Priceless.
Yeah. So I'm looking at some of the comments here, and I believe that some people are saying that in Indiana it's dark, and in other areas of the country where they feel it should have hit, like it's not happening yet. So
I'm going to look out the window because I'm looking outside and it's getting dark out there.
Yes, starting to get dark.
I'm going to pop my head out the window real quick. Give me a second.
Yeah, no. And while you're doing that, we're going to, Heather, if you can bring up the Niagara Falls live webcam.
Okay, so I'm seeing about half of the sun. Half of the sun is gone.
Oh, really? Okay.
So if you could pop your head out and just kind of squint at it, because we don't have the eye gear. Oh yeah, here, Chris. What were we supposed to do?
Yeah. So Heather, if you could bring that up in full size. It's funny. It says not till for 58 more minutes.
Weird, because here's another thing. We have sun simulators out right now. We do not have the real suns right now. What's being eclipsed? We should talk about that.
I was going to say that's my question to you. Like, what is actually being eclipsed?
Right now we have sun simulators because we should be in the dark ages because of the black sun and because of the quadrant we're in. That's a sun simulator, and we have several satellites that have gone dark, but they can get activated. They're working on 0-point energy. They've been in this realm for a very long time. You can think of them as Death Stars. What happens is they get activated, and they're going and being positioned to create these eclipses.
Oh, okay. So let me just review that again. So from what you said, so we have a sun simulator that's being eclipsed. Is that what you're saying?
Not even a single one, because every place has a different sun simulator.
Okay.
Oh, because one sun simulator, it's like a flashlight. If you're going into a room, let's say a room, a 20 by 20, would that single flashlight be able to illuminate the entire room? No, it could do a section at a time. It's the same thing with the sun simulators. They can't illuminate the whole area. So what they do is they line them up like whatever. So they're off a little bit. You can't really see them because of how they do it. Another reason why they geoengineer so heavily is they don't want you to see that there might be, here's a sun simulator, here's a sun simulator far away. They're not usually in a spectrum where you can see them together, but they're way small compared to what the real suns are. And they're not yellow, they're white. The sun simulators are white. That's why at that beginning of the day and at the end of the day, the yellow comes out, because those are the real suns, and they can just tone them back, the sun simulators, and let the real sun come out, and all of a sudden it's way big and it's yellow and everything is yellow, and it reminds you of how it used to be with the sunsets and the sunrises, but it only lasts a very short time, and then it goes to white. The white are the sun simulators. What would you do if you needed to mimic eclipses? And you have sun simulators up there. There's other technology that's up there. You can call them dark satellites. You can call them old moons, because that's what they used to be. And the moons look like the Death Stars, because the one moon that we think is a moon, because we have more than one, emulates with holographics around it a moon. So basically we have some that have gone dark, and what they are is they have shut down. They're not completely down, or they would be on the ground here, but they're still running on 0-point energy. So what they do is they get fired up, and if they have to move them, all of a sudden they'll look like a star that's moving. You could even have a couple of them, and all of a sudden there's 3 stars, and then they'll go dark again, and then they'll go in front of any object, which is the sun simulator. Did you ever wonder why it's perfectly round like a disc, and why there's no shadowing?
By the way, I'm looking out my window and things are starting to get dark here. So things.
Yeah, okay, I'll just look out my window, because you're not that far from me, Chris. And it's starting to get half dark. It looks just like it always does.
Okay, so we've got some other interesting things to talk about, and we'll kind of keep our eye on that Niagara Falls webcam and so forth. I'm a little bit confused because on that webcam it says it doesn't start for another 58 minutes. But we'll see. We'll keep
one simulator.
Yeah, I was getting it's supposed to start at 3:18, which is like less than 10 minutes from now. But we'll figure that out. I may have the times messed up, or there's something interesting going on.
I find it amazing that with all these sun simulators running around, well, there's not that many in America. I think there's only a couple to run the country. And I find I can't even imagine the tactical it would take to create this, to make this. There's a lot of stuff going on to make this. And they're like praying, oh, Hail Mary, let it work, let it work.
Yeah, because the reality is literally breaking down. Like the reality is changing.
Everyone's having a big Hail Mary on the other side of the complete deception.
I don't think they're going to catch the ball, but hey, throw it up in the air, do the Hail Mary, see what happens. Okay, so Heather, if you go to the slide, the Mother of All Dragons slide. Yeah. Okay. So previously, the Devil's Comet, which is now known as the Mother of All Dragons Comet by the European Space Agency, and it's actually already been, it's propagating through Google and so forth. If you type in Mother of Dragons Comet, this comet, the Ponsbrook Comet, comes up. So here's like another thing just to add to the mystery and the intrigue of all this. Every 71 years, this comet is seen in the sky. It's a cryovolcanic comet, which means it's got ice volcanoes on it, and they keep erupting, and that's what contributes to its brightness. So it's interesting that they wanted to change the name to the Mother of Dragons, or the Mother of All Dragons Comet. I found that interesting. They were saying that astronomers were calling it that because they felt it was coming from the Draco's constellation. I'm not sure about how their calculations run, because there's other information where they talk about, oh, it's really getting dark here now, where they talk about, comets coming from the Oort cloud, which is a type of enclosure over the solar system, which is another level of an enclosure within an enclosure, et cetera. But I was getting that this comet actually is from Lyra, and somehow it was related to the God's Eye or the Helix Nebula. And I got a picture at that of the Helix Nebula at the bottom, which is a very famous nebula. A lot of people have seen that imagery before. And one of the things that I talk about is how, what are comets? Are they veiled? Are they something else? Could they be a ship? Could they be parts of a planet that have realms inside of it, etc.? So when I was tuning into it, what I saw, and people can just take this with a grain of salt, but I was getting that there is actually 25 different species that were on board, including humanoid and feline, and they're there to assist with these soul shard returns from this planet X or Nibiru, which I'm going to talk about in a slide or two from now. So you've got the comet. They're talking about how the comet might be visible, because if the sky goes dark and you've got clear skies, you'd possibly have an opportunity to see this comet. So it's just one more thing to add to like what's going on in this reality. Mm-hmm. So Sonia, from your point of view, when you hear of what a comet is, what's your interpretation of what that might be?
I love talking about comets because there's more than one type. It's never just a single answer, is it? No. Don't you wish it was that simple? Right. What is absolutely ships? Ships coming and going, what have you, because we do have craft. And then some of them are good craft. And then, if they're the deep state, they've conquered some of the technology to recreate craft themselves. So they can also use them as an agenda. But there is, like what you said, craft from other beings, what have you. Another thing is, since we're in a dome, nothing's coming from space through that dome. Look, if we could have got out of the dome, or factions could have got out of the dome, they would have gone. They couldn't. They can't. They're stuck here too. So if nothing can get out, nothing can get in, right? There's an exception to that. Portals. If you learned how to manipulate and actually create portals, what could you do with portals? You could go in and out. You could also use portals to send any kind of projectile at any different point in a reality through a portal and create, I don't know, comets? Destructive comets? Yeah, that's been a big problem with the portals, where they're being hijacked and then used to have projectiles thrown through them. Of course, we also have projectiles that come from underground, from old technology. Those are also comets. And then, of course, the next one is down craft. Some of this craft gets down because of frequencies, scalar frequencies taking them down. They're going to crash. They're going to look like a comet coming down, burning up really fast. So take your pick. Which one do you think it is? It's all of them.
Interesting. And then, like, why is it called Mother of All Dragons? Could there be like a founder being or someone of high importance or group?
Whenever I hear about the dragons or anything like this, I always think of the Dracos, because the Dracos were one of the first species that were ever created inside of this archonic reality, and they were made by the insectoids that created a different kind of a shell, but they made it into perfection. Even the insectoids are not made in perfection. They were just one of the first shells. But when we started to create, because remember, it doesn't matter the shell you reside in, it's just a shell. So whether you're a lion person or whether you're an aquarian person, or aqua person, or under the water, like, creature from the Black Lagoon, anything like this, you're still an energy being. That's just a shell. So basically, when the Draconians were actually produced, they were the first chimera, they were the first cryptid. They were done on such a high level. I started talking about this and it got my video taken down on Odyssey.
Okay, well, so be careful what you say here.
The Draconians. Yeah, I don't.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, like, when I refer to dragons, I don't necessarily mean, for myself, I don't mean Draco, but I mean like more of like the creators of this realm, and I see things like the creators of a video game, like in a big company that creates video games, they have departments. Like this department is in charge of graphics, and this department is in charge of mountain ranges, and this and that, or whatever it might be. So there's different like qualities of what a creator being could be. So a dragon is just kind of like a code name for those that have like come into the game, the creators of the game that have come into the game to help release the trap that we've been set in.
I do know that I've done a video, several of them, on dragons, and I found that there's actually two dragons that you would consider a dragon. One is a tulpa that you create out of your own energy into a dragon, where you can send your energy out in dragon form, and the other ones are real dragons, and they are energy beings with their own avatars, and they're interdimensional, and we catch them every now and then on film. It's rare. You can see where people have caught real dragons and then they're just gone and they can't find them anymore because they're in and out of dimensions. Now those kind of dragons are outside of this snow globe, and basically they have a frequency that can go in and out. They can make their own portals through their throat, and they can go in and out. Your Loch Ness monster is a form of dragon. This is why they can never catch the Loch Ness monster. It's there.
Right.
But they can open and close portals to come in. Every single dragon is a fisher. They fish. They eat fish. That's what they do. They're fishers. That's why they're always dealing with water. I mean, that's dragons. What I'm seeing.
Yeah, the water dragons. And I don't know if anybody could tell, but I've got like a little dragon on my shirt over here. It's one of the Asian dragons.
I think it was blending in.
Yeah.
Until you pointed it out.
Yeah. I'm actually working on this like line of like clothes called Unbound, which actually has a dragon symbology.
I mean, I love dragons. I had a dragon come to me once, Chris, in a dream that wasn't a dream. It was a white dragon. And the dragon told me it was a white dragon. I went into some kind of place like Tibet. I went into a shop in Tibet. It was all wood. I could smell it. You know how it would smell in an old wooden Tibetan shop that was like 2 stories high? And a white dragon came in, and it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And I've never forgotten this because it really wasn't a dream. It was more like an event. And it came to me and it slithered around a barrel, and it said, open the barrel, because it was talking to me. And I opened it up and there was all these gold coins inside of there, brand new. And it said, these are for you. You will never want for anything. This is what you will have, and you will never want for anything. And then I was like, I don't believe in dragons. And then he kind of scoffed at me like, yeah, but you will.
You will.
But you will.
I wonder if that was your dragon.
Yeah. So yeah, I absolutely believe in dragons because one came to me in a dream that wasn't a dream.
And this is the year of the dragon.
Yes, it
so
is.
We've got the Mother of Dragons comet in the year of the dragon. By the way, it's really starting to get
dark out.
Starting to get dark here.
Yeah. Can you see it? I'm going to have to get up again and go look. I'll be right back.
Yeah,
Just
no,
give me a second. I'm looking.
go ahead.
Wow, Chris.
I
Okay,
know.
wow.
It's like
Wow.
it's like turning nighttime over here.
It's like a shadowing effect. It's like the sun is getting into a shadow, or our sun simulator is getting a shadow. Cool.
Okay, so we've got the comet in the sky. We're talking about portals, and that leads me to see if Heather, I think slide number 15, a couple of slides from there, has titled "Portal from Nibiru, Planet X." We'll go back to the 1811. Just we were talking about portals, and portals might be opening now, so we'll talk about that slide. So yeah, this one right here. So I just have some information on here. So when I was tuning into it, this could be one of many different types of portals that may be opening. But one of the things I mentioned on this slide is about the Dune 2 movie, because I know, Sonia, you've talked about Dune and the symbology they use with the moon and so forth. Well, there's a planet on. I haven't seen the new part 2 of the Dune series yet, but there's a planet called Getty Prime, and it orbits like a black sun or like a brown dwarf. So I thought that was interesting. So I kept on getting like a portal from Nibiru. Like, what does this mean? And you reminded me that Nibiru is also known as Planet X. So like X marks the spot. So here's some information I found about Nibiru that I've tuned into to be accurate. Nibiru is a Sumerian version of the same planetary body, also called Marduk, by the ancient Babylonians. It was forced into an extreme elliptical orbit of approximately 3,600 years and is known today as the 12th planet in our third dimensional solar system. It's an ancient invaded planet of the Anunnaki, outfitted to be a battle star. And you're talking about like the moon and the Death Star concept. Nibiru has not been discovered by Earth mainstream science. It functions on a reverse orbit and a reverse Merkaba alignment. And that every star has an equal binary twin sun in this galaxy. So the binary sun has to come in order to send it a polar opposite balance effect for neutralization. Binary sun bringing us in a change to neutralize the binary coding that keeps it in a lower frequency known as the veil. So I know I said a lot right there, but then the next slide I think will maybe explain it a little bit more. If you go to the next slide. So basically when I'm tuning into it, a portal is going to be open during the eclipse. It probably has already opened, with its purpose to be returning soul shards to Earth. And I was getting like 144 million source players are going to have these soul shards returned to them, almost like prisoners of war that happened from some event. I'm getting like 12,500 years ago, perhaps kept in a type of prison from the Lyran War timeline, which spread to Orion. And that kind of concept goes into something called galactic history and so forth. So also aiding us, I believe, is the return of these soul shards to help us go into something new, like everything that you've been talking about, Sonia, our new avatars and all of these upgrades and what's going to be happening to us in our dream state and so forth. And it seems like we're in this particular time of this, if you take this antiquity clock and all these gears and stuff moving around, where we've got the sun, Nibiru, and the central sun of our Milky Way, besides other things, all coming into like an alignment right now. So again, I see this portal opening, and if what I'm saying has some accuracy, we're going to start feeling these special soul shards return to us. And you don't have to worry about like how they're going to find us. They'll find you, like, you know, return to mama. It's going to be a return to daddy. Like it's going to know. It's going to like find you like laser focus to make you more whole, so to speak, and to bring back abilities that were taken from us. So it's like another way. And I'm getting, my crown is on fire right now as I'm talking to you. So it's just another way to look at the reality in another level. And then when we talk about the CERN slide in a little bit, I'll go into this a little bit more about what CERN might be trying to do to prevent this from happening, what their whole portal I call magic circle technology.
Mhm.
So I don't know if there's anything from this information you wanted to talk about, Sonia.
Well, absolutely. You know, I always talk about, and I've talked about this since I first started my YouTube. We are Humpty Dumpty, and we were shattered, and we're pulling our shards back together.
Oh,
And this
I'm
is
sorry. I'm sorry. Hold on just a second. Because it's that time. So, Heather, can you bring up that Niagara Falls cam? I'm hoping we can see the full screen. It's not just a little window, but I'm wondering, it seems like it should have gotten dark in Niagara Falls by now. Oh, it's still saying 54 minutes.
wow.
That's so interesting. What are you looking at there now? Oh, is this another? This must be another webcam. Yeah, I must have had the times mixed up. I didn't realize it'd be like another. Wasn't it like 54 minutes a while ago?
Yep.
Like, maybe that screen has to be refreshed. Yeah, I think that's what's happening. I think we're looking at a stale image there. Oh, now we have to watch a commercial.
Maybe.
Now it's up to 1 hour. Oh, end of the eclipse. Oh, end of the eclipse in 1 hour. So it looks like it is getting darker in Niagara Falls than it was before.
How long does it take from the beginning to the middle where it's completely eclipsed?
I think it's a couple hours.
A couple of hours?
Yeah.
So like when it starts to go and then it's completely eclipsed, and then of course when it's completely eclipsed, at that point you'll know how long it takes to go back out again.
Yeah. So I'm so sorry to interrupt you there. I was just like wondering like what's going on with the Niagara. I gotta say it, Niagara Falls, not Niagara.
We're missing it, Chris. We're missing it.
I know all the stuff we're talking. We're missing the big show in the sky.
No, the greatest show on earth, right?
Yeah, this is the greatest show. Yeah.
I was talking to one of the people that are on my Patreon, and I talked to her. She's from Thailand, and she was telling me that her and her husband used to go. Well, her husband still does, but she doesn't do it anymore. They used to go and they used to chase eclipses wherever they were in the snow globe. They would go follow the eclipses because that was his thing.
Okay.
So I thought that was really interesting. I didn't know anybody that had really done that, but I guess there are people that do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were talking on about the Nibiru, like on that slide I had about Nibiru Planet X. Do you remember where you left off? Because I completely distracted myself.
That's okay. So I have no idea, but I'll talk about Nibiru Planet X, which is our black sun.
Right. Yeah, please. Yes. Talk about the black sun.
Yeah, so basically, because of the quadrant we're in now, the black sun it runs the entire full spectrum of all 4 quadrants. We don't realize it though. We are in a simulation, and we started off in quadrant 1. And then after a time, we went to quadrant 2. And the only way you were going to a new quadrant was through an incarnation. This is where your incarnation system comes in and why we have it. So basically, at one time, we did not have this because we weren't corrupted. And it all got corrupted back before Atlantis fell. And this is when the sim split and it also fractured. So basically, this is when we became sharded. We went into like a lot of shards because of what happened in Atlantis. This was the fall. Because of this, we started having parallel realities. When we went into the fall and we became fractalized, this is where all of your alternate realities came from. And when Gaia, who is a soul being, an energy being, was shattered, we were shattered right along with her. And so parts of us, which are our shards, went to these multiple different realities, and there were millions of them. It's like taking a glass and shattering it as hard as you could into almost dust. That's the shattering we took. So basically, from quadrant 1 to quadrant 2, new avatar, incarnation. From 2 to 3, incarnation. That's the only way you're going. And the only reason you're leaving the quadrant is because you raised your vibration enough that you could meet the next quadrant. Because in the fall, we also became dark energy beings, which means we went through the dark night of the soul. I mean, and we were dark. We became dark. Not all of us. Some of us came in, but the ones that were here. So we're working our way back up. Only in quadrant 3 to quadrant 4 will you, even like the Bible says, you'll take your body with you when you ascend. So when we had gone to quadrant 4 in 2012, the ones that made it to quadrant 4, we took our bodies with us. And since we got here, starting from 2017, because we were held like into a limbo in 2012 to 2017. And we were told you can stay in the back if you can't make it because of the vibration. Your life will just continue. You won't even know this happened. That was when the red skies came, what have you. And then after that, in 2017, we started our ascension, April the 8th. This is why we took our bodies with us, because of the ascension starting when we landed fully into quadrant 4. This is how we were able to take our bodies with us. We have been pulling in shards this entire time so our bodies could level up in this quadrant. And that's where the shards come in. And now that we hit the 7-year mark, the first of the ascension of 12 in a cycle of 12 increments of 7, this is why we're having shards coming in, adding to us, because we can finally handle it in these avatars, because the old avatars couldn't have, no, they couldn't. They were too locked down.
That's a good point. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And so some of these shards are almost like prisoners of war, so to speak, like coming back home.
Oh, they're us. It's not all us. They're parts of you.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, we have all these different things happening.
CERN. Would you like to talk about CERN? Because this will go real nicely into CERN.
Yeah, we can. I'm just wondering, can we bring up that Niagara Falls thing again and make sure it's, because people are saying that it's already hit totality there. Yeah, so this is like some late feed. I don't know why that's not refreshing, Heather, but that's.
Yeah, it should be completely dark. It would have to be.
Yeah, it should have been.
Oh.
I don't understand why it's.
Yeah, because we're over a little over half here. You can see it's really shadowing outside, and they should be in front of us.
Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that, and we could jump into, let's see, the CERN slide. There's a slide that starts off with CERN LHC April 8th start date. If you found that one, Heather, it's like a couple more down from where we were at. Yeah, there you go. So I'm just going to read off some information about CERN. CERN in Geneva has been running tests with its ATLAS Large Hadron Collider since March. They're going live with their collisions today, April 8th, 2024, with an upgrade known as the High Luminosity LHC project. Now, it's important for people to realize that it's not just CERN in Geneva. There's also 1,500 other cyclotrons around the world, which may connect via quantum computers and work in sync with CERN in Geneva and their ATLAS technology. So when I tune into this, I'm getting that it's a type of magic circle technology to open portals, such as to the antiverse and to summon beings from alternate realities. Now, I say a lot right there, and like, what's magic circle technology? Well, some people that may have watched like the Doctor Strange movies, they make like a circle and it creates a portal. So you've got that whole concept about how you can open a portal to travel, you can open a portal to summon things, and so forth. So is it possible that at CERN, with these giant magnets that float around the track there at high speed on a cushion of helium? By the way, CERN uses more helium. There's actually a worldwide helium shortage. I think it's all at CERN because they need it all to be able to have those huge magnets on that cushion to fly around the track so fast. So with that said, there's also it goes into the concept of Atlantis. and
Yes.
what happened at Atlantis for the Atlantis fall. And that's something I'm going to just read through these and we'll talk about that too. So you've got this magic circle technology. You could also call it a reality belief system altering weapon that interacts with the Archon grid or it has been anyway, for our reincarnations and incarnations, and how some of these Large Hadron Colliders can create false artificial intelligence realities, something called holographic inserts as well, which will, like, they could put a holographic insert into someone and all of a sudden they could believe something about themselves that isn't true. For example, they might believe that they were Jesus, or they might believe this, or they might believe that, using this kind of technology. It's an attempt to block the light body, or I feel it's an attempt, these soul shards that are being returned to us, these prisoners of war, CERN might be trying to block that. And one of the things, we stand in our own power, and a lot of people that are watching this broadcast and watch my shows and your shows have authority over time, so to speak, and are highly creational beings. Even if you don't know it, you are a very special being with unlimited power. You're just convinced that you're in this little human body and that's all you are, and maybe you're not good enough, or blah, blah, blah. All that's BS. You're powerful creators. So, we should release all power programs, holographic wounds, and false artificial intelligence realities created by CERN. We release them, and we release all points in space-time where CERN would be motivated to come after us, because sometimes that could happen as well. And then CERN, Mandela effects, there's that conversation as well. So I said a lot there. So I'm just wondering, and I know that you've got some things to talk about CERN. So why don't you do that, Sonia?
Okay, like when I was talking about the fall of Atlantis, they were a high technological society. They were the same as in the Hindu texts, the Vedas. They were the same people, very high technological, and they were messing around with this too. They thought that they could manipulate, create, what have you, and they started off initially with working with genetics, which means chimeering, creating cryptids, what have you. Once they did all of that, they wanted to go further. So they started messing with metaphysical, which is just on a higher level frequency. They were messing with energy, which is all considered metaphysical because you can't see it. And what they did was they created their Hadron Collider themselves. And when they started messing with that, they were using crystalline back technology. With the crystalline back technology, which is even, your DO weapons are created on crystalline back technology. All of that DO weaponry, that's not machinery. That's crystalline technology with lasers and what have you. Well, when they did that, and they started going, that's when they had these huge colliders going off all at once. And what happened was that was the beginning of the shattering of our realities. So what they're trying to do is they know we're on the ascension path. What would you do to keep your food source close to you? You're going to recreate what was done once before because it was successful for you, to manipulate and corral all these energy beings into one place and stop them from going anywhere. So with these colliders, they're hoping that they can mimic what was done once before, because remember, we're all stuck in this. A lot of us are still here from Atlantis days. Oh, yes, we are. And we're here to correct what was done once before by not allowing it to continue. So they don't want us to ascend. They want to keep us here because they use us as food, and they're going to try to reshatter our reality with CERN by crashing the molecules together. They tell you that it's a closed unit when in reality there's a part of it that's open and it brings in the ether, and they're crashing it and then they're sending it back out in much smaller pieces. And what they really want to do is they want to get the fabric of time into this machine, recrash it, end it because every moment in between moments we are creating a reality. So in the in between, nothing exists. And I talk about this, and they know this philosophy. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to do whatever they can to make sure that we don't ascend out of here. This is what it's actually about.
Okay. By the way, Heather, if you could go on to the next slide. We have a little bit of a time situation because Heather, our producer, of all things, is headed to the airport to catch a flight right after the eclipse. We'll see if her flight's on time. I don't know. But yeah, so from what you're saying, and also too, they have the statue of Shiva outside of CERN. And a lot of people are like, why would scientists, that don't believe in this type of thing actually have a statue of an Indian god outside their headquarters? But they do. And what's interesting is that a couple of weeks ago on CERN's YouTube channel, they posted a video of a dance, a quantum dance. It was basically a ritual that a dancer named Sue Wenchi performed there. And there have been other types of these weird dance performances that CERN has done. I think around 2015, they created this dance opera film called Symmetry, which was like really, really weird. They had like these scientists dancing in a circle, and then an actual circle out in the desert with like a being in a white robe and a dark robe outside of it. It's just like they give you all the clues. And a lot of people, like I talk to people and they're like, CERN has nothing to do with this reality. They can't do anything. They're powerless. It's a story. And yeah, it's a story, right? And it's all part of the illusion that we're in. But there again, there's more than meets the eye here. And Heather, if you were just to play a little bit, as we're talking, there's the dance that Sue Wenchi does, just to show you just like part of it. But it was like a live performance that she did there in Geneva. Just when you watch it, it's just kind of like spooky almost. You're getting this symbology, and then you're getting the dance, like the dance of creation and destruction, so to speak. Yeah, so it's like a 15-minute dance, and there's narration. There's a woman that narrates what's happening as it goes along. But it's definitely very interesting about all the symbologies that are used and what are they trying to show us here. So Heather, I believe do you have to leave in 2 minutes? Is it 3:45 or 4 o'clock you have to leave? If you put that into the private chat here, I'd probably see that. I don't see anything. My technology is acting weird. I can't even see people's comments anymore. By the way, how's everybody feeling? Because I remember the 2017 eclipse. I got into like a really bad mood. I got dizzy. I was expecting just this great experience. And I had friends that were like dancing and singing, and they were so happy. And I was like, whoa, leave me alone. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I always call it like that too. I went outside and I was like, I don't feel good. I'm going in. I feel shitty.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that you had mentioned you felt there was a reason for that?
Well, yeah, because that was in 2017, and that's when we got placed into the new quadrant, and we were getting the upgrades immediately, and it would be a shock to your system because we'd gone along with our age that we ran in quadrant 3 for so long that when you go into a new quadrant and you're getting all these upgrades, it's like a baby teething. I mean, it's not comfortable. It's painful, but our whole body. And we kind of felt, sick, and you're being changed on a cellular level. And the older you were to have this change, the more you'd feel it.
Yeah, I was going to say too, I'm looking out my window now. It looks like things are starting to get brighter again.
Yeah, it's starting to get brighter again.
Yeah, meanwhile, there's like police sirens going. You guys probably can't hear it, but there's like police cars and police sirens going off. So yeah, I'm sure like some people are a little edgy and they're trying to figure out why.
Yeah.
So
Heather, how do you feel, Chris, with this eclipse? I really haven't felt too much. Not really.
I definitely feel better than the 2017 eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a lot of activity going on like around my head, so to speak.
I feel it, right? I feel it starting here.
Yeah.
And about here. It's like just the cap. It's like here, the cap. I feel it on the cap and mostly here. Like I can feel it here.
Yeah, I can feel that here too. In fact, for the last day or so, I've been feeling like the area like around my third eye, like activating.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to also mention in the last couple of days, I've been extraordinarily tired. It's like, I woke up, I'm tired. What?
right?
Really tired. Like
Yeah.
yesterday, it was so bad. I went to bed at 9 o'clock. I'm like, okay, I can't do it. I woke up tired yesterday. I was dragging through the entire day. I had 2 meetings. I barely made it through the meetings. 9 o'clock, it's all she wrote. And I crashed. It's like, what is wrong with me?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I've been feeling that tired feeling too. You know, people are saying make sure you drink lots of water, you take care of yourself. I know a lot of people took the day off today. In some parts of the country, they've closed the schools, especially if they were in the path of totality, because they realized everybody would want to go outside anyway and look at the eclipse. So yeah, some parts I think they were declaring states of emergency, ahead of time because all the influx of people. I don't know. I haven't been following the news at all, so I have no idea what's going on with that.
Me neither.
So, yeah. So there's more things to talk about. I think we're running out of time because
we are. It's 3:47, and I don't know if Heather has to go or not.
Okay. Look, she just sent a note that she could stay till 4.
4. Okay.
Okay. All right. So
I just want to discuss one more thing. Then we're just.
God. Is it about what we're going to be eating in the future?
Yes, actually it is. But I want to say some of the stuff on my list real quick.
Good. Do that.
This is my quick notes, and I want to just say this, and then we're going to talk about how our avatars have changed. We have time.
Okay, please.
So basically, the ALF, which is the A, in the Kabbalah represents infinite Ein Sof, which is boundless, unknowable aspects of God. That's you and I, because they don't know how we actually are. We're not predictable. Real energy beings are not predictable.
I like how you said boundless. Boundless, like unbound, which is the name of the dragon that I have here. Yeah. Anyway, keep going.
And so in Hebrew, the word is echad, and it means one or unity, oneness of God. Then here comes the next one that's going to clinch it for you. Hebrew, first letter means master. In Psalms 119, reminds us of the blessings one receives when we keep God's law. What is God's law? Natural law. Natural law is God's law. And when we keep natural law, we create and we develop Christ consciousness. And with this Christ consciousness, we discover we are God.
I like that.
And that's huge.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that. And then let's talk about our avatars, what we have coming for us. In the first 7 years, we've just completed it. You can chime in on this. What's changed inside of our bodies? Our throats, our pineal and pituitary gland, our sockets on our eyes and our skull, they're closing now. Our heart, for the women mostly, is now in the center versus over on the side. Our spleen has changed. Our appendix is up and working for the first time. Our gallbladder will now be working. Our liver has doubled in size. These are all detoxing systems.
Kidneys?
Kidneys?
Yeah,
yes.
Kidneys are different configuration. Yep, up. They're not in the lower back anymore. Yeah.
Not in the lower back anymore. Why do you think some things were implemented quickly? Because they didn't realize we were going down the ascension road. They finally figured it out, so they had to get it together to try to stop this. Instead of ascending the natural way, which becomes an all-powerful God as a plasma being who can traverse dimensions, who will never be able to be controlled, they wanted us to go into an AI reality. Now, here's the kicker. AI is plasma. It's in the cloud. It's in the ether. We only need devices so it has something to connect to like a radio. So we, as carbon shells, can connect to AI. Yes? What happens when you have a plasma body? You can connect to AI at any given point at will and disconnect. What if you didn't want that to happen? What would you do to stop that? Huge. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
basically, our avatars will have this ability on top of many others. We will no longer, when we hit a certain point in this ascension, we will not be eating food like that, because plasma does not require, and with the carbon changing, we won't require eating like that. We'll be eating different things. And what I mean by eating is it'll turn more to a liquid substance that we will be creating, which will be base nutrients, and they'll be different than what we have now, because we won't require all of the heavy the minerals. We just won't require those minerals anymore. Think about how much your food has changed. With the GMO, they changed the coding in it so your carbon bodies wouldn't get what it needed to self-replicate. With the plasma body, self-replication is going to be becoming much easier, because most of the plasma will be just like plants, photosynthesis. That's huge. So you won't need to eat, you just need to be.
Yeah, that's really interesting. The whole thing about our diets changing. I definitely agree with that. Like, I feel that, like, naturally we're going to be going to more of a plant-based diet than an animal-based diet, because our avatars are literally going to be changing, and we're going to be looking for different types of nutrition that in the past worked, but maybe not so much in the future with these new bodies that are coming online. And I discovered this guy on YouTube. I think he's called the Fruit Hunter, and fascinating channel. I think he's from Thailand, but he has has so many videos of all these exotic fruits that I have never heard of before. And like when he opens them and eats them, he's like, "Oh, it's so delicious!" And but like, it makes me want to go. Like,
the new stuff coming on the scene that we never had before. I just discovered this new drink that I've been drinking it for several months now, and I can't stop drinking it. This has just come on the scene for me. We never had this before. I don't know if you can see this. Let me turn off the light real quick, because I think it's causing a glare. Yeah, the sun is definitely getting brighter outside. Yeah. So basically, this thing is so cool. It's got I don't know if you can see it. Let me see.
Yeah, I look like a coconut, but is that something else?
Yeah, it's coconut. It's coconut milk, coconut water, and it's made with nata de coco, which is solidified coconut. And it's so nutritional. This drink is like so freaking, it fills you up. It's nutritional. I could just live on this stuff and stop eating altogether.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And yeah, so don't be surprised if, like, naturally we're just going to want to put different things in our body. And I wanted to mention too, like, you talking about plasma and us becoming more plasma beings. There's someone that I did a podcast with a month or so ago. Her name is Olivia. She's from Poland. She actually been teaching people about how to activate their plasma body, which is which is like a part of you that we all have that needs to start to come online. So that whole concept of us becoming more plasma based, it really resonates with a lot of different people. So a lot of people are on that same page as you, Sonia. You're definitely not alone.
Yeah. I'm really happy. I'm ready for a new avatar. This is also going to change how you age.
It would have to. It would have to.
Yeah. So basically, we'll start going backwards. Now, here's the thing. If you're geared to go backwards, you have to reach the frequency, because not everyone is going to be on this frequency, even the ones that made it here, depending on what you have done in your reality. If you couldn't raise your frequency with each change, NPCs and other beings will be dropping. And I just wanted to add that in. The ones that couldn't raise their frequency. The good news is we'll be leaving negativity behind. They will not be going with us into further dimensions. They can't make it. They won't be there. And this is also huge.
So, like, when you say, like, what's going to be happening to the NPCs after the solar eclipse, is that what you're referring to?
Yes. Not just the solar eclipse, but each single day that we go forward. If the frequencies aren't met, because we are going into we're going into the new Earth.
Right.
So we're doing this. We're splitting apart. We've been splitting apart. It just didn't happen now. This has been happening since 2017. It ramped up in 2021 because of to help it along, unfortunately. Right. But this is if you're going to go to a higher vibration, you've got to match. It's as simple as that.
Right.
So as we progress forward, we'll be leaving them behind. The ones that cannot, they simply won't be in our reality anymore. They can't.
Yeah, and I think we'll just like disappear out of their reality.
Exactly.
Wherever they're
We will
going
disappear from them, and they will for us. I mean, it's going to be both ways.
Yeah, it'll be like, what happened to Sonia? She's not here anymore. Yeah. So what we're going to need to probably do soon is like wrap things up.
Okay.
And so we've got just maybe 2 or 3 more minutes. There were more slides that I had to talk about the cicadas and about what happened in 1811. If you just put this slide up, Heather, I'll just talk about it. The cicada slide, which is a couple before this one, because these cicada broods are very interesting as well. Yeah, so
I will say one thing about the cicadas. They're not biblical, they're cyclical.
Yeah, so basically there are billions of cicadas to emerge from brood 13, XIII, and brood 19, XIX this spring. And the sound of the cicada is a type of light language that I tuned into. And I'm like, light language? Actually, the purring of a cat could be light language. The sound that a loon makes on lakes in northern United States and Canada is a type of light language. The sound that this cicada makes is a type of light language. And when I was tuning into it, what does it do? I was getting that it boosts the infrared light spectrum.
Oh, cool.
Infrared is something that we can't see with our human eyes, but we can feel it as heat. But that's like we only see like a tiny fraction of the light spectrum, and infrared is a big, part that we can't see. So something about the cicadas doing that, so I wanted to mention that. And it's very coincidental that there's actually 2 of these broods that are emerging at the same time, and happens like every 100 or plus years at the same time. It just so happens in the spot where X marks the spot. And these broods have names with X inside of it. And I thought that was curious as well. So
interesting.
Yeah.
And that, that's absolutely true. It doesn't matter what comes out of here when you speak, it's the frequency it's carried on.
Right, exactly. And a lot of times too, when you do the light language, you're making tones with your vocal cords and your tongue and your mouth, and you're sending messages telepathic. So even if you say something in light language, like I might say something about this infrared light spectrum, I might say, so I just transmitted some things telepathically. Most people would be like, what did he just say? Like, what is he talking about? But your higher self has just translated that as to what that could mean as far as the infrared light spectrum, and a battle that's been going on over that, which is another situation. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for joining us. We made it through the big part of the eclipse. It's covered, I think, most of the country already. If it hasn't moved into Canada yet, I'm sure it's probably there now. And leave in the comments like how you've been feeling, any questions that you have, and so forth, and we'll go from there. So Sonia, anything you'd like to say in conclusion?
No, have a great day, and I'll see you on the next videos.
Yeah, exactly. And on your Patreon group as well.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, everyone. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.